Hey guys, today I'm here to do another Year of Miyazaki video, and today we're going to be talking about Whisper of the Heart, which was written by Hayao Miyazaki and was directed by Yoshifumi Kondo. This was originally released in Japan in 1995 under the Japanese title Mimi wo Sumaseba, which literally means if you listen closely. For some interesting background before I get into the plot of the film, this is actually the first ever Studio Ghibli film that was not directed by either Hayao Miyazaki or Isao Takahata, and actually this was Yoshifumi Kondo's only directed film with Studio Ghibli. Kondo was actually added to the Studio Ghibli team in hopes that he would one day take over for Miyazaki and Takahata, but he unfortunately died of a brain aneurysm in 1998, which obviously cut his career way too short because this is a fantastic film and I really would have liked to see what he could have made in the future. And interestingly enough, it wouldn't be until 2002 that Studio Ghibli released another film directed by somebody other than Miyazaki or Takahata, and that was actually The Cat Returns, which is kind of a spin-off based on one of the characters from Whisper of the Heart. And lastly, before I get into the plot, this was actually based on a manga of the same title from the 1980s, which was written and drawn by Aoi Hiragi. Whisper of the Heart is about this young girl named Shizuku Tsukishima who is in middle school, and right off the bat we are made aware that she is a massive bookworm and that she has a real love for expressing herself through writing. At the very beginning of the film we learn that Shizuku is in her very last year of middle school and really should be studying for her high school entrance exams, but instead she is writing lyrics for her friends, translating lyrics to an English song, and reading all of the books in her local and school libraries. She is the daughter of a male librarian who probably gave her her love of books and stories, and her mother is currently going back to school to get her master's degree. Her older sister also works part-time and studies part-time and actually moves back into their very small Tokyo apartment about midway through the film. Of course, because Shizuku is in middle school, she's not only dealing with high school entrance exams and family drama, but of course she's dealing with things that come with early teenagehood, namely boy drama. Her best friend Yuko has a lot of boy drama, it seems, which she drags Shizuku into, and yet Shizuku doesn't seem to be too into actual boys herself. She's more interested in figuring out who belongs to this name that she keeps seeing in her library books over and over again on the library checkout card, which is Seiji Amasawa. She kind of forms this picture in her head of who she thinks this very well-read boy must be, and imagines what would happen if she found him and wonders if they would have a connection because they share the same reading taste. So if you can't tell, Shizuku is a bit of a dreamer, and rather than worrying about high school and boys, she is very much looking for the start of her story adventure. She wants an adventure like she reads about in her books, and so when she comes across a cat on the train one day, she thinks, this is just like the start of some of my stories, and I wonder what would happen if I follow this cat. So she does, and she discovers this very strange kind of antique shop full of treasures and weird objects like she's never seen before, and at the same time meets this very standoffish young man who kind of taunts her and just generally seems mysterious and kind of like a jerk. And the plot really just progresses from there, so I will leave the summary at that and just say that I absolutely loved this film. I thought it was a perfect coming of age story mixed with a little bit of adventure, and it actually felt like, this is gonna be kind of a weird comparison, but it kind of felt like if Haruki Murakami wrote like middle school age coming of age stories, it felt like a lighter version of something Murakami would have written. Like I said in the beginning, it's really a shame that Yoshifumi Kondo passed away so early, because although yes, Miyazaki did write the film, the directorial choices and the art were so well done that I think Kondo could have produced really amazing films in the future. I will say that the animation style is definitely more like old school traditional manga than say Takahata or Miyazaki's animation. I think the figures are less impressive than the scenery. He does paint scenery very well, and you really get a sense of the atmosphere. Like when it's a hot day out, you can feel the heat. When the sun is going down, everything has this real nice golden glow to it, and I think he does scenery very well, but his figures just weren't as distinctive, say, as Miyazaki or Takahata's. Thematically, I was a little unclear in the beginning where this film was going, aside from being a coming-of-age story, but it actually ended up being very much about the creative process and the artist's journey. The film talks a lot about how art isn't easy. Art of any kind isn't easy, whether that is writing stories, drawing, creating violins, and making other things. All of that takes practice, and you really, as the artist, you really get this rough idea and then have to practice and polish your idea until it becomes an actual piece of art. So if you're interested in storytelling or artistry or any kind of creating really, I think you'd really enjoy this film. I'm going to try not to spoil anything here, but there is a moment in the film where Shizuku decides that she needs her own creative journey, and so decides to sit down and for 2 months intensively write this one story. Now, I didn't really understand why she did that at the time. I didn't really get why it was so important for her to have her own creative journey. However, at the end of the film, Shizuku has a line, something along the lines of, "I am no man's burden and I just want to be useful." So it made me feel like she didn't really know it at the time when she set out on this journey to write a story, but she didn't want to have to ride the success or ride on the tails of somebody else's success. She wanted to kind of make her own path in life, and I think that's very much something we see as a theme throughout the film, kind of creating your own path, figuring out what you particularly want, and not limiting yourself to maybe what society tells you you need to do. And finally, I kind of touched on this in the beginning, but this is actually the kind of prequel, I guess, to the later Studio Ghibli film, The Cat Returns. That is kind of a spin-off of this, based somewhat on the story that Shizuku actually writes in the film. So I'm very much intrigued to watch that film now. I don't get to it for several films, actually. It's way farther down the chronology. It didn't come out until 2002, but I will be watching that obviously eventually, and I'm very excited to see how these two tie into each other. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I know I wasn't as organized or as analytic as I normally am in these videos, but I just really enjoyed this, and it gave me very similar feelings to how I feel about Kiki's Delivery Service. So I definitely think this is one of my new favorite Studio Ghibli films, and I will have to purchase my own copy because I definitely see myself rewatching this one again and again and again. The next Studio Ghibli film I will be watching is Princess Mononoke, which of course I am ecstatic about because that is actually one of my favorite films of all time, animated or not. So if all goes to plan, that video should be up on September the 17th, which is actually my birthday. So if you guys have watched Whisper of the Heart and would like to share your thoughts with me in the comments below, I always appreciate that. I have actually not heard a whole lot of discussion about Whisper of the Heart, even though this is supposedly one of the most well-received Studio Ghibli films ever. But actually ending for real this time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye! Mimi wo sumaseba, aoi hiragi, shizuku tsukishi, the name Amasawa. Damn it.